Okay, so we have cut out all the animals, and like I said before, that white fringing, I'll show you later how to get rid of it. I also see a little thing that needs to be fixed in here. Right now, we're not doing that. We're going to make this Africa map um, pretty. We're going to finish it, hopefully. The first thing I want to do, because I want to introduce you to some more things. Here's the map. I must be on the map layer. Yep, I'm on the map layer. First thing I'm going to do is I want to go to the tiger layer, and I think I started to show you in the last lesson how to click on an image in your canvas and it will make it jump in your layers panel. So I'm going to go back here to the canvas, hover over the tiger. Right now, if you look, Africa copy is highlighted. I'm going to hold down the command key on the Mac, the control key on the PC. Now watch the selection jump. Tiger white copy, and there it is. Now I want to show you the opacity slider at the top of the layers panel. It says opacity 100%. There are 3 different ways to change this. I happen to click the little down facing arrow and use this slider. See how the tiger now is transparent? You can also type in a number if you have an idea of what number you want. I highlighted it and typed in 50%. Or if you hover over the word opacity, you'll see arrows pointing left and right. Hold down the mouse button and drag, and it'll move the percentage of the opacity. So that's 3 ways. I'm just used to using this slider, but a friend of mine who I actually taught Photoshop to discovered this way, hovering over the word, and she uses that all the time. So there you have it. I'm going to next go down to the serval because I'm going to make the serval smaller. If you recall, it's Edit, Free Transform. Command T is the shortcut. Command T. Oh, and it did. There's my box. That was weird. Weird stuff happens. Photoshop is a very deep program. When I used to teach 15 years ago, I always would say operator error. Not so much anymore because it is a very deep program. If I want to maintain the aspect ratio, a term you should know, that's the relationship of the width to the height, you must hold the shift key and grab a corner. Now, if I grab a corner and just hold the shift key, it's going to bring it from the right to the left. If I hold the corner and hold the shift key and the option key, alt key on the PC, it will resize it from the center. See how it's resizing it from the center? If I look up here in my options bar, I can see somehow I got a 30. Well, actually, I must have accidentally messed up the aspect ratio because this says 35.07 and this says 30.06. I can change that. That little bit probably doesn't matter, but I'm going to make that a 7. Oops, I made it a 3. I'm going to make it a 0. How about that? And I'm going to make this one a 0 so that it's a nice even 35%. I'm going to hit the return key on the keyboard. It's enter on the PC keyboard twice. Go to my move tool by hitting the V key and drag the serval down here into the lower right corner. I'm going to hold the command key. I'm in the move tool. You have to be in the move tool for this shortcut. I'm going into my picture plane and clicking on the goat. Command T. I'm going to make the goat really tiny. And I held the shift key and the option key. Hit return. I'm going to move the goat so it looks like it's riding on top of the chinchilla. So I'm going to leave the chinchilla gigantic. The goat needs to be tilted a little bit to the right. So I'm going to do free transform, Command T, and see my little curvy arrows. I'm just going to tilt it a little bit to the right and move it and tilt it a little bit more, and then hit the return key. The lion needs to move. Sometimes it's hard to use that shortcut, the command and click in here when it's transparent. So I will go over to Layers panel for that. I want to move the tiger a little bit out of the way. I want the chinchilla to be above the tiger, so I go over to the Layers panel and drag the layer of the chinchilla above the tiger. And so now I have a giant chinchilla. I have a tiny cat. I actually want the cat in front too, so I'm going to go back to my Layers panel, click on the serval, bring it up, and there's the serval. Now I want to go down to the Africa map. I'm going to go into my canvas, hold the Command key, Control on the PC, and click. I'm going to Command T. I'm going to hold Shift Option, Shift Alt on the PC, and move my Africa map over here. Now I'm going to give the Africa map a drop shadow. I'm going to make it a little darker using spread. I'm going to make it a little softer using size. I'm going to click OK. So now we see an effects layer on the Africa map. If you look in your Layers panel, you can close it or open it. You can turn the eyeball off or on, and of course you can drag it into the trash if you want to throw it away. Now I want to add a new layer. With Photoshop, new layers always go above the layer you're sitting on, unless you hold the Command key, Control key on the PC. I'm going to click right down here, the little piece of paper thing next to the trash can, and it will go below whatever layer I'm sitting on. So there it is. I'm going to go to Gradient. I'm going to go here to the Options bar. And see this, it's white because I have white in my foreground and background. Anybody remember how to make the default colors with the keyboard shortcut? This is the icon for it. The keyboard shortcut is Command D. I'm sorry, that's wrong. D for default colors. Command D is deselect. Oops, sorry. Click here. I'm going to look for more. See a little gear? I'm going to go to Simple. And it asks me, do I want to replace or append? Well, I don't want to replace what's there. I want choices. So I'm going to append, which means add it to the bottom. So now I have some more choices. So I'm going to pick this green and white. I want to make sure I'm on the linear. I am, and I'm going to draw a gradient. Let's see. I think I'll go with that gradient. That's okay. That works for me. So there's my gradient background. Now I'm going to, remember there was a background image that we didn't bring in that was in the folder, in the segment 2 folder. I'm going to find that on the desktop through the bridge. We haven't covered the bridge yet. In different classes, I cover it earlier or later, but I'm going to go to bridge. And I'm going to go to, oops, there's the bridge. I'm going to go to Essentials. If it's ever going to go there. Essentials, hello. Yeah, there we go. No? There we go. Desktop. And segment 2 is the name of the folder. I'll eventually have to change that and make that a little more obvious. I'm waiting for it to building criteria. There's not that much in there. I don't know why it's taking so long. There we go. This background, if I try to open it, I think it's going to tell me it's the wrong. See, could not complete your request because it is not a valid Photoshop document. So what I'm going to do is guess that there's the wrong extension on here. So if I hold down the right key and go rename, I'm going to change the extension to JPG for JPEG. And if that doesn't work, I'll try TIFF, JPEG. Hit return. Oop. It asked me, can I change it? I'm going to. Okay. JPEG. I'm going to drag file into the Photoshop icon at the bottom. And there it is. So it was a JPEG. It was just a wild guess. Now I have to get the move tool, and I'm going to drag this into my Karen Africa map. And now it's above my green gradient. I'm going to go free transform, hold the Shift and Option key, and fill the screen with it. Hit return. And now something, I'm going to call it BG. I'm going to call this grad. Notice I'm clicking on them to give them names. I'm going to click on the goat because I forgot to name the goat. Always good to name your layers. Good work habit. G-O-A-T, goat. And I am going to go back to this background layer in the layers panel. And at the very top, there's another thing we can use, and it's called blend modes. I experiment with them. I'm not sure of the science behind it. Overlay is one of my favorites, but it doesn't do much on here, does it? Maybe if I change the opacity a little bit. Nope, didn't do a thing. How about soft light? Nope. Hard light. Now there's an interesting combination. In the white, it looks very much like the Serengeti. On the left, it looks like different. So I'm going to leave it at hard light right now because I just wanted to show you. Experiment with the blend modes. They're fun. Okay, the last thing I'm going to do is give it a name. And I'm going to say kids. I went to the type tool, by the way. I hit the T key. Kids. Now this time I want 2 lines. So I hit the return key, kids map. I'm going to hit the little check mark to say Photoshop, I'm done typing. Go to the move tool, and here's my kids map. Way too much leading or space between the 2 lines. So I'm going to go to window, get character. I'm talking fast because I want this to be the last one for you guys. Here's my character panel. I'm going to drag it over here so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to, right next to the size of the type is the leading. If the type's 30, I'm going to make the leading 18. Almost a little, and I want to change the type to Arial. I can type it in. Well, A-R, there, Arial. So it's a nice thick font. I'm going to make it Arial bold. I'm going to pick a color off the screen by getting my color picker up, and then double click the type layer and add a bevel and a drop shadow. Click OK, do a save as, and remember my name is in front there already. Go into Karen's Africa map and save it, replace, and done.